In this video, I'll be detailing and explaining the technical names for notes in major and minor scales. I'll assume that you already know how to form both major and minor scales, but if you're not sure, have a look at my other videos about scales if you need to. Here's a scale of G major. You probably know that each of the notes have a number above the first note of the scale, the degree, the second, the third, the fourth, fifth, and so on all the way up to the octave, which is represented as 8VE. Coming down a scale, they are in reverse order. So an A in G major will always be the second of the scale, regardless of whether the scale is ascending or descending. However, each note also has a technical name. These may seem arbitrary, but they do help students, musicians, and especially composers understand the function of each note. Now, if you're only interested in knowing what each of these technical names are, they're all listed here. If you're sitting a music theory exam, it's important that you remember these. However, rather than ending the video here, I do think it's important for students to understand why each note is called what it is. This not only may help you understand which note is which, but also for any future music study. I'll therefore be exploring each of these technical names one by one. The first note of any major or minor scale is called the tonic. This may not come as a surprise to those of you studying music theory exams, as at an early grade you're asked to create the tonic triad in root position. It means a triad, 3 notes, based on the first note of the scale. You may also have heard the first note referred to as the key note. This is also correct, but it's not its technical name. Tonic is the correct name to use. This supertonic is not super in the sense that it is superb or a very good note. The word super is based on the Latin word which means above or after. Therefore, the supertonic means the note after the tonic. I'm going to jump ahead here for the moment. I'll come back to the third or mediant note in a moment. The fourth note of any major or minor scale is called the subdominant, and is often thought to be so called because it is subordinate or lower than the dominant. Now, if this helps you to remember the technical name, that's fine, but it isn't the real reason why this note is called subdominant. The real reason is because it is the same distance, a fifth, below the tonic as the dominant is above it. The fifth note, the dominant, is so called due to its powerful relationship to the tonic. Now, I could talk for hours about this relationship, and I'm pretty sure I still wouldn't cover everything. What you do need to know is that this note, the fifth, can often dominate the harmony of a piece of music. It's a very powerful note, and if you are a piano player and can vamp, you probably use the dominant note a lot. So the fifth note is the dominant. I'll come back to the sixth note, the submediant, in a moment. The seventh note of a scale is called the leading note, as it often leads a melody into the tonic. Now, by this I mean that it is extremely common for a melody to rise a semitone immediately after the use of the leading note. Now, there's no rule that says a melody has to do this, but it is quite common and it feels correct. The use of the seventh leads the listener to think that the semitone higher tonic is coming next. So looking at our scale here, we can see that the leading note is an F sharp. If this were used in a melody, which was in G major, a semitone higher takes us to the G, the tonic of our scale. Okay, just 2 notes left, the third and the sixth. The mediant, the third note of any major or minor scale, also has its roots in Latin. Roughly translated, it means middle. Now, you're probably thinking that this note is not in the middle of the scale. Well, you're right. However, it is in the middle between the tonic and the dominant. Remember I said the dominant is an important note. Well, it's also very helpful to us to help us remember the name of the third note of the scale. The mediant is in the middle between the tonic and the dominant. It's the sixth note, or the submediant, which causes a lot of confusion for students. I gave an example a moment ago of the subdominant, which is the same distance below the tonic as the dominant is above it. We use the same sort of calculation for the submediant. It is the same distance below the tonic, a third, as the mediant is above it. If you're sitting a music theory exam, it's really important you learn and remember these technical names. If you're planning to study music later in your studies, it's also worth remembering why they are called the names that they are. I do hope that this short video has been useful to you. Thanks for watching.